I'm Phil Hughes with RMPR. Just want to go ahead and kick us off here. In a minute here, Renee Haas, who is president of our intellectual property group at ARM, is going to be coming up here. He's going to give you an overview of what we're announcing today. And we're going to follow that with a discussion panel with a few folks from the industry here to talk about the future of use cases here on smartphones and laptops. So with that, Renee?
At ARM, our vision for the future is you. You are complicated made simple. 1 trillion pieces built on one foundation, living life. At ARM, technology is simple. 1 trillion devices built on one foundation, making life better, happier, for everyone. ARM is making this vision a reality. ARM touches 70% of the world's population. ARM powers 95% of all mobile devices. ARM has a vast ecosystem of 1,000+ partners and 100 billion ARM-based chips. From infrastructure to healthcare to mobile, automotive, and the Internet of Things, to the wonder of things soon to be. The total computing experience. Technology made simple, seamless, and secure. This is innovation without interruption and happiness for everyone.
Good morning, everybody. That was a long 30 seconds. It was not intended to be 45 seconds. It was intended to be about 30 seconds. So on behalf of ARM, I'd like to welcome everyone to a pretty cool venue. Never been here before. The views are pretty amazing. As mentioned by Phil, my name is Renee Haas. I run our intellectual property products group and would like to talk to you today about a new launch of products that we're coming out around mobile. Now, in those 30 seconds, which seem like 45 seconds, one of the things that's really striking about what smartphones have done to our world is the amount of things that you can actually get done in that 30 seconds, whether it's booking a cab, booking a hotel, selecting boarding passes for a flight, just a myriad of things that can be done with this kind of technology. You know, it's interesting. I do a lot of events. I'm fortunate enough to talk to a lot of different folks in the industry, and it's not uncommon that I'll talk to folks who don't know what ARM does, and I'll meet them and they'll say, what does ARM do? And I'll explain what intellectual property is, and they're kind of blank, and I'll explain what a semiconductor component is, and they're kind of blank. And then I talk about what a smartphone is and what they can do, and they said, oh, this is all your fault. But that being said, you know, what smartphones and the mobile industry has just done to our lives kind of goes, you know, without saying in terms of the power of these devices. And excuse me as I walk kind of across these screens here a little bit. The smartphone, you know, has only been around for 10+ years, but it is a device that now is very hard to imagine what our lives would be like, candidly, without it. Right? It's become so ubiquitous to everything that we do around, whether it's work, life, play, etc. It is the device that's essentially essential to what's going on. And there's a lot of talk about the market slowing and the growth of handsets, but when you just think about how indispensable the device is and the capabilities that it unleashes, it's very obvious for us when we look forward in terms of the outer years that not only are the capabilities of these devices going to grow, but the power and the experiences that they enable will as well. So one of the things that's obvious about what these devices do for us is the fact that it allows us to be, rather free. The fact that office space is now declining by X percentage basically means that people don't really have to go into the office anymore to work. What smartphones have done in terms of enabling people to do things remotely is pretty amazing. The fact that you can take calls and you can do things across time zones and things that you can do that were just 10 years ago kind of unheard of are really all enabled by these devices. And when we think about the capabilities going forward, it's really obvious that the power and capability is going to continue to increase. Now, one of the things that we think is rather compelling about where the platforms are going forward is both in terms of performance and power, but also everything that 5G will enable. So if we think about sort of the evolution of this next technology of products that are coming out over the next few years, first off, you have the power that has gone into a premium cell phone that can now go into laptops, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, that can provide literally all-day battery life, connectivity that you have in a handset, yet everything that you need relative to everything you do with your productivity apps. But it's also, we think that when the advent of 5G comes, is when there's going to be just yet another wave of applications and experiences that will transform what we do. When you think about companies like Uber and Airbnb and all of the new platforms that were launched, they were really launched on top of this transformation from 3G to 4G. It's really the confluence of a lot of different technologies that need to come together at the same time that will enable a set of experiences that are rather hard to predict, right? So we knew that when 3G went to 4G, there was going to be an amazing capability in terms of performance and application power, but we didn't know that, Uber would be a transformative company relative to how we took taxis or how we took rides, or Airbnb being somewhat transformative. So when 5G happens, the power of 5G, the bandwidth, the type of experiences that can be enabled, we can't really predict exactly what the winners are going to look like and who they are, but we do know that they will require more performance, they will require longer battery life, and that's where we've been really making a lot of investments. It goes without saying, though, that these platforms going forward have to be secure. Everyone has obviously gone through the whole Spectre meltdown fun that we had around CES timeframe, and that was, that's today's world, right? That is something that we will deal with all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year. Building security into the platforms, building security into the ecosystem, building security into everything that we do is extremely, extremely critical, and it underpins a lot of what we do inside of ARM. So that being said, when we think about where we are relative to smartphone evolution, we don't view it as a market that has slowed down. We don't view it as a market that has lost its ability to innovate. We actually think we're on the wave of a brand new cusp of capability, really driven by 5G and amazing compute power. So with that, we're really proud today to talk about the new mobile platform for 2019. And when we talk about platform and we talk about 2019, we're really talking about a set of capabilities that will allow handset manufacturers to deliver compelling products in the 2019 timeframe. And about the 2019 timeframe is when 5G should start to become available, so pretty compelling. Now, I think many of you may know that inside of the IP products group, we've moved some things around internally to think more about solutions and platforms, and you're starting to see a bit of the evidence of that with this new launch. So this is not only a set of IP, a CPU, a GPU, a display control, et cetera, but it's really a cohesive platform. It's a set of devices that are intended to be used together, deliver the best performance together, deliver the best experience to the end user together. We've also announced, I think as many of you know, a platform called Project Trillium, which is a machine learning platform, which is there at the bottom right, which is really all about bringing more intelligence to the edge. So whether it's about high-performance gaming, whether it's about laptop-level compute, whether it's about amazing display or machine learning, all of these capabilities are going to go into a handset in the 2019 timeframe, which is going to enable, we think, some unbelievable user experiences. So first off, I want to talk a little bit about what we've done on the CPU side, right? So we have been investing very heavily in the CPU side for a lot of different reasons. First off, there is a lot of headroom, we believe, in the capabilities for larger displays, larger devices, laptops, et cetera, to enable high-performance compute. So with that, you see that starting with A73 onto A75 and the new product I'm about to talk with A76, we've had a tremendous performance increase. And this is not by accident. This is not specsmanship. This is not aggressive PowerPoint. I know you guys have talked to Mike and the team about this. We've done some very specific things in the microarchitecture to really boost up the performance. And this is essentially to allow high compute platforms that can run complex apps, that can run over networks, that can run all kinds of different applications to be a no-compromise type of solution. I've been around the laptop space that has been running ARM devices for quite some time, and having now used the new products that are based on ARM, I can truly say that there is no compromise in terms of the performance. However, the battery life is absolutely compelling. The fact you can truly leave your power supply in your backpack for the entire day is a reality now and will only get better. So we've really invested heavily in the CPU area, and specifically our product that we're talking about today, the A76, has a very high performance increase over our previous generation. As you can see here, 2x performance in laptops, so there are laptops out today that are based upon the previous gen. A76 is going to really up that in terms of what the performance will look like, and for the end user, that will really mean a seamless experience. And that's really important now because, again, the world has changed a lot from when the first Windows on ARM laptops came out. I remember talking to maybe some of you in this room about the very first laptops that came out that were based on ARM, and one of the questions I had to answer was, does it run iTunes? Which was a very valid question at the time, and the answer at that time was no. Fast forward to now, to require your laptop to run iTunes to listen to music, it's a bit of, well, I use Spotify. Why do I need to actually have iTunes? And yes, Spotify runs on my handset. Of course, it runs on my PC. So all of the application area that have been in the way of being successful have gone away. And on the flip side, the performance is really compelling. So we think we've turned the corner relative to the overall performance curve, and we're going to see some really compelling products in the marketplace. The other interesting area is in GPU. I had worked for a GPU company for many years, so I know the power and beauty of such a product. Mobile gaming is a gigantic market that continues to just get larger and larger. When you think about the time that people spend on their handsets, the immersive gaming, the thing that's going on, it is a market that is continuing to grow in a very large way. That puts a lot of tension and requirements on the GPU. That also puts a lot of tension and requirements on power, performance, and area. So with the G76 GPU, we've invested a lot in terms of power, performance, and area over the previous gen, and are now seeing some significant improvements. And this is the constant flywheel that we are on with this kind of product line. And again, making sure that we have synchronized products that are out at the same time the GPU is available, the CPU is available, is really quite important. So you'll see platforms coming out in 2019 that will be using the A76 CPU along with this GPU. And of course, you need video along with this. 8K displays, driving 8K displays off a phone, not uncommon. Again, years ago, that would have sounded like a completely crazy use case. But going forward, we're seeing increased capability on these handsets to deliver this, and also, candidly, into the laptops, because these products are intended for not only premium smartphones, but for the laptop arena. So we've made a lot of investments in the display as well. So when you think about mobile going forward, again, we are really excited about the capabilities that are going to be available in these new devices. Whether it's multi-day battery life, whether it's machine learning, whether it's advanced console gaming, but probably more importantly, when these 5G trends start to hit and these new applications are developed, it's going to be a new world relative to what capabilities are there. So what you really want to make sure is that the underlying hardware has an incredible level of performance to support those. So with that, we're super excited about where this is going. With that, I want to show a short video from Samsung.
My name is Seokjun Lee. I'm in charge of associate design team at Samsung's system LSI business. Smartphones transform our daily lives and drive current user experience innovations. Increasing performance while maintaining efficiency are key factors for this. For years, Samsung system LSI business have worked closely with ARM to deliver the best graphics and gaming experiences. ARM's next generation GPU, with improved graphics and machine learning performance, will enable new and exciting mobile gaming experience, merge the virtual with the physical world, and bring intelligence computing to consumer devices.
Yeah, so Samsung has been a great partner of ours over the years, and they've made a lot of investments with us. And going forward, I can't wait to see the kind of products that they put out. So I did just want to spend a brief amount of time on the first few minutes of this morning to talk about the new products, the things that we're doing, et cetera, but didn't want to spend all day flipping through slides. be much more interesting to kind of get into the next session. We're going to have a panel discussion. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to Joyce Kim, who is our Chief Marketing Officer. Joyce.
Thank you, Renee. Come on up.
We can sit where we want.
Yes, please have a seat. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. As Renee said, I'm Joyce Kim. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at ARM, and I'm really excited to be joined by a panel of our distinguished ecosystem partners. As you all know, ARM is a very collaborative, ecosystem-driven company, and our foundational technologies and these product launches that we have are sort of the layer of all the things that our ecosystem partners are able to innovate. So we thought it would be great to hear directly from them on the things that they're working on, as well as some of the trends and the future vision that they have, leveraging ARM technology. So before we go into it, I will ask each panel member to introduce themselves and give a brief overview of what they do at their company, and we can dive right in.
Thanks, Joyce. Thanks for having us here. We're really excited to be part of this. My name is Rahul Prasad. I'm a product manager at Google, and I work on the Daydream AR and VR team.
And thank you, Joyce. My name is Brian Meek. I'm the CTO at STRIVR. We are an enterprise training company.
My name is Ralph Howard. Thank you for having us. I'm head of platforms at Unity.
And I hope you all didn't forget who I was. I'm Renee.
And I'm Matt Barlow. I lead Windows marketing at Microsoft, and happy to be here with you, Renee and Joyce, today.
Great. Thanks for sharing. We'll start the discussion with some questions, but then we'll turn it over to you guys in the audience to ask the questions that you have for the for the panel. Just to start, and I'd love to get each of your perspectives on this, which is, mobile has been with us for quite a while now, and certainly in the last 10 years, which sounds like an incredibly long time, but we've made some pretty big gains in performance in other areas. So sort of, do you guys see not just mobile phones, but in different devices and form factors and AR and VR and all the things that you're doing, sort of, has user expectations and what they want from mobile devices, untethered devices, changed? And what are you guys seeing in that? What users want?
I guess I'll start that. It's really amazing to me just how powerful the latest generation of SoCs with mobile has become. We have console-level graphics with the G76, and I think that's just very, very exciting. And one way to think about it is you can now do what on a smartphone you can do what a desktop PC could do maybe 15 years ago, and you might think, okay, who needs more power than that? That's phenomenal. In the AR and the VR space, though, I think we're just getting started. So things like really recreating reality to the point where someone really, really feels like they're somewhere else, whether on in front of the Taj Mahal or on top of Mount Everest, that requires a level of graphics fidelity that we're just getting started on. And for us, we're just so excited about having more high resolution, better GPUs, lower power consumption. Mobile is a core tenet of how Google thinks about AR and VR. It's something that we believe very strongly in. So for us, we will take all the graphics and performance that we get.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. At STRIVR, our mission is to empower people to perform at their best. When we started at Stanford, researching how people can use VR to improve human performance, the science indicated it was going to work and it was going to be an amazing experience. The technology, just as recently as 2 years ago, though, to empower that was a desktop computer, a room system, is very limiting. So while we knew we could get there from a technology perspective eventually, our ability to reach a large population was limited. GPU, CPU advances that ARM is talking about are going to enable us to bring that experience from a lab or one person at a time out to vast populations, be able to get beyond just a demo of what could happen, but be able to reach millions of people. And this isn't 15 years ago or 10 years ago transformations. This is 12 months ago, we weren't even able to mobily train people. This year, we can. In a few years, with 8K video, 60 frames per second, we're going to be able to recreate experiences like Rahul was talking about. That'll be so realistic. It's just going to really transform the way people learn, people perform, people prepare.
So I think an interesting aspect of that is what the user expectation is and what blurs the line for user expectation. And if you kind of look at the form factors that we get to see, so we see that across desktop with mobile and XR, The user expectation of the experience they're going to have, the content they're going to experience, is actually drastically changed. People have gaming on mobile and expect an experience that can be similar to a console experience in terms of the performance, the graphics that they got. And this is also true for XR experience, like Rahul was mentioning. Where that blur of the line is happening and kind of what people maybe are not as aware of when we talk about mobile phones and driving mobile phones is that the resolution of the average smartphone display is much higher than the average desktop monitor. So what we're driving and how we're driving that and what the expectation behind that is massive compared to what the actual experience is, which is a pretty seamless experience by now. So it's quite interesting to see that user expectation, even in what is not visible, has risen quite a bit. And meeting that with processing power, but also meeting that with the experiences is offered, is what we're all chasing right now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I like to observe when I travel a lot for my work, as I'm sure many of you do as well, and I always like to take a look at the hardware that kind of exists, whether it's in an aircraft or in a restaurant. And I traveled through Newark Airport this last weekend. If any of you have been through there, they have an amazing amount of restaurant space dedicated with dedicated iPads, and each area has 2 power supplies where you can plug in and charge, and then mag readers for your credit card. And I'm thinking, what an amazing set of investment. In probably 2-3 years, that's going to be fairly obsolete, right? Just when you think about the fact that you may not actually need to constantly be near a wall supply. You won't really be using your credit cards anymore as often, and that iPad display, who knows what can be driven off of your phone relative to accessing a dead terminal. So I just think, there's just so much more innovation that can happen in this space, and we're really, again, I think at a turning point. I think it's really, really a cool place.
The thing I'd like to kind of add to this are some trends that I'm seeing, and I know many of you, and speaking with you, that you're seeing as well, but just sort of a reminder of what's changing, right? I think we're on this precipice of an evolution in how people are going to be accessing the people, places, and things they care about, and that'll affect devices, it'll affect experiences, and certainly individuals. But when you take a look at data, right, and cellular traffic has increased over 35 times since 2010. So that's a massive increase in terms of consumption and usage. And that number is going to increase another tenfold by the year 2022. So that tells me that people are relying on these devices, as we've talked about, more and more. Not just to send a text or to find something on the web, but it is for gaming, for other types of unique experiences that they want to consume even more frequently using cellular data. So I think that the ecosystem is preparing itself for this next step. I think people, when you just take a look at the people we are in our communities, if you think by the year 2020, over half of the workforce are going to be like my kids, millennials, and they have grown up on the internet, right? They've grown up on handheld devices. They've grown up demanding instant on, always connectivity. This is how things work. They have different points of view for how technology works and how they want to use it in work, at school, or at home. And I think another trend that we can talk more about is this isn't just a consumer play or a gaming play or even an alternate reality play. I think that we're on the precipice of a pretty major shift in commercial, in the enterprise environment, where I think many businesses of any size are now going to look at their network infrastructure, the CapEx required to change these things, the sensors, the routers, the cabling, the management, and in some cases, doing so to build up the benefit of their workspace when many of their workers are now traveling outside of that, right, and using unsecure public networks to access corporate information. I think they're going to look at network providers and 5G as a way to potentially reduce their CapEx, get higher quality of service, broader coverage, and potentially greater security for lower cost. And devices of this type, ARM-based PCs, like the always connected PC that I'll definitely talk more about today, that Renee, you did a nice job pitching, by the way, I think are going to create this new thin, light, always connected, incredibly long battery life, and all the benefits you would expect from a Windows PC is going to be the thing people prefer at work, at school, or at home. I just think we're setting ourselves up with technology for a large pivot in this industry. Mobile phone, but frankly, the PC and other devices too.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, and one of the things I'd love for you to expand upon. With 5G, with all the year-on-year performance gains, 20 plus hours of battery life. I mean, these are, the always connected mobile phone, smartphone-like device in a large screen is here. What are the possibilities that you see with a network that can do some amazing things outside of Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I think these ARM-based, always connected PCs that are running Windows 10 are going to be a device that people are just going to want to have. when you think about what it is, right? I mean, it's the perfect blend of connectivity and instant-on accessibility of a cellular phone, mobile phone, with the power and the creative capability that only the PC could offer. So I think it's this next generation PC that people are going to look for that combines the best of both of these worlds. And when you think about the 4 benefits that we talk about of the always connected PC, first is connectivity. And when I think about being able to bounce back and forth between up to gigabit LTE today, 5G potentially in the future, as well as leveraging Wi-Fi today, if you use one, and I would encourage you to if you haven't yet, it just changes the way you work. Opening up your PC to get something done and not worry about a sign-in page, not worry about what room number you're in at the hotel, not worry about the amount of traffic on the Wi-Fi network you're in, it just works instantly. And then you marry that instant on and that Wi-Fi or again, LTE connectivity with battery life. I mean, you talked about it. Up to 20 hours of battery life, and again, up to 24 days of standby, you can go on that weekend trip or that 2-day business trip and leave your power cord at home. And when you think about now, you're leaving your power cord at home, and the size of these thin light PCs are smaller than a technology magazine or a fashion magazine. They fit into a briefcase super easily, super light. You're then going to be using it more and seeing the benefits of it more. And then, when you get a no-compromise experience, it's Windows 10. It's Ink, it's voice, it runs Office, it runs Minecraft, right? I mean, it does all the things you would expect it to do. It creates a pivot for people who are looking at their old clunky PC to say, hey, there's something new out there, and I think these ARM-based PCs are going to be the choice they're going to want to make in the future. I think, and when 5G comes in, holy cow. Now all of a sudden, availability of high-speed, high-bandwidth network capability married to these devices is, I think, going to be the choice for people at work. You know, in schools, we can talk about that as well, but at home too. I think 5G is going to be a big unlock, and I'm glad we're taking the steps today to prepare ourselves for that.
Yeah, that's key. Brian, you know, your company, STRIVR, for those of you guys who don't know, sort of disrupted how NFL and sort of the college sports training came. Now you're sort of looking to do the same in the workplace. Can you sort of explain how you guys are doing that, and what are some of the key technologies that you'll be leveraging to disrupt that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we build immersive experience as a platform for enabling people to use them to train. We're seeing in the enterprise that the mobilization, people have shifted to mobile devices, laptops, and the expectation that that exists has changed the way enterprises procure and think about rolling out new technology. The baseline is it has to be mobile, it has to be always available, it has to be always connected, and it can't require new infrastructure being rolled out that's specific to it. It can't require new bespoke hardware that's being purchased. And so as you're talking about 5G, capable device, long battery life, all of those are the baseline for being able to create the immersive experiences that STRIVR creates for these enterprises. The enterprises don't want to today go off and buy something that's a short term, hey, we're putting a headset into a PC that we want to get rid of. They want to see that the next generation laptops, the next generation smartphones that they have can power the VR experiences, power the AR experiences that we're bringing to them. And so we're very excited about the opportunities this unlocks. What we're seeing now is the early adopters in that space are really pushing and asking for, hey, we see this on the PC, we see we can do this great training, how do we get this out to our workforce? How do we have a device like we're talking about here today that we can put in the hands of all of our employees? Because they're getting the great returns and they really want to drive forward, be able to get this out to millions of people.
Thanks. And speaking of VR, I mean, Google, from adoption in entertainment and so forth, like what are some of the other sectors that you guys are seeing adopting VR in the future?
Yeah, one of the things that's been a core tenet for our team at Google Daydream from the beginning, from the days of cardboard, was we believe that VR and now AR is for everyone. It's not just for gaming, it's not just for any one kind of niche use. We think it's a transformative computing platform and just a paradigm shift in how you use computers, how do you communicate, how do you create, how do you entertain yourselves. I think the early use cases and kind of VR took off with gaming, but we're seeing a lot of other bright spots. So you're seeing things like teleportation. Can you go somewhere that you could not go in the real world? We have an application called Expeditions for school kids. It lets them go on field trips to places that they could never go in the real world for whatever reason. They may not be able to afford to, or they may not be able to travel abroad or anything like that. They can do that with VR, and we're just seeing like massive uptake and just really kind of building a product where you build a product and you have smiling school kids come out, that's just very, very rewarding. So education is just a huge area for VR and AR. The other thing is creativity. So Tiltbrush is a VR app that Google launched a couple of years ago. And just seeing the type of art and the type of things you can create and build in VR, it's a brand new medium. It just unlocks a level of imagination for artists that you could not do on a flat piece of paper or a flat canvas. It's almost like it is sculpting, but with a medium that's digital and fully 3D. So these are just two areas that we think are just really exciting in VR. But again, we think that VR and AR technology is going to be transformative for everything that you use a computer for right now.
Yeah, and speaking of VR, I mean, Ralph, AR has been a huge, disruption to gaming. What other sectors do you guys see from an AR perspective with this technology that's now available?
So it's kind of similar also in terms of the shift that we're seeing. So Unity, traditionally has been driving most of real-time content on mobile. By now, 50% of all gaming on mobile is Unity. In AR, VR, that number is significantly higher. And what we've seen is not only growth, but also growth towards different areas that we were initially not so comfortable with, but we're pretty good at now, which is the enterprise, which is education, where we actually found organic growth of Unity being used into those areas, where people are now creating things that, honestly, the Unity engine was originally not thought out to be for, but is exactly that. I'll give you an example. At CERN, they're looking at particle collisions in VR through a Unity-driven app, where Unity is a gaming engine, but the value of visualization and the value of doing that in real time and showing data in a way that is understandable to humans in real-time 3D, that value that we're offered to content creators has been, well, good for us in terms of the growth, but also good for the content creation and being able to author these music experiences. If we look at the growth and to the point of 5G, what that will mean, so if you look at what right now device splits are, so we're talking about a VR headset or a mobile phone, and we kind of carried it over and let our imagination run free what that could mean in AR. I don't think that that will be one discrete device. I think over time in the future, it will be your personal area network connected over 5G, connected with the machine that you have on your desk, and all these things identifying with each other. So we're thinking very much about split computing and what the place of AR within that is. How will a watch operate with a mobile phone? How will a mobile phone operate with glasses? Because it won't be as discrete. And for us, traditionally very discrete gaming business was very monolithic in its delivery model, boxed model, to now going to a model where, ephemeral apps are more of a thing, where something runs becomes less defined, or even how something runs over multiple devices, and if it runs in the cloud or not becomes less and less defined in the future. So it's a very interesting problem space for us to think about for creators, for people actually using Unity, and see how we can actually guide that into a place where people can harness all that power.
Yeah, speaking of markets, I mean, Matt, you guys, obviously from a PC perspective, huge in the enterprise. Is there other sectors that you guys really see the always connected, infinite battery life, if you will?
I think, again, with Windows, we have, nearly 700 million people running Windows 10 today. So I think I've got a large base of people that are using our operating system and having a great time with it, no matter where they happen to be. I think the unlock we get with the always connected PC, particularly when you think about 5G's impending arrival, is much of the points that the group has made today. I think it's just going to create more opportunities for people to open something up, quickly log on, and be able to get something done in the way that they want, and choose the right device for the particular task at hand. And I think that, bless you, I think that the number of devices that we're going to use and the interrelationships between these devices is going to become the norm. Tablets, phones, PCs, headsets, voice-activated devices, IoT, all of these devices on the intelligent edge are going to be used by people in any number of ways. And at Microsoft, with Windows, we want to embrace those devices, right? And create that rich layer at the intelligent edge, which many of us are building. And then make sure we bring that information back to the intelligent cloud, apply machine learning, artificial intelligence as well, to help people have even better experiences at the cloud and make our platform experiences even better. So I think it's interesting, in different companies, but are talking about the same types of approaches, meeting customers where they are with the technology they desire and make the technology disappear. It should turn on fast. It should connect to the things you care about. It should deliver the experiences you want. It should almost blend away versus be a destination or something you think about. When I think about the always connected PC with running Windows 10 and again, powered by ARM, I think we're taking another bold step towards that future.
Terrific.